Peter Shankman, welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom again. Great to
Good to
have
be
you back.
Good to
Yeah,
be back.
you're a frequent flyer. I'm really excited to have you back. I always love our conversations, and you shared another provocative napkin. You said, "Do the scary thing." Why did you share that with me today?
Everything I've ever done in my life that's been successful, and some things I've done that have not been successful, have started by my doing the scary thing. Whether that was rappelling off of a 250-foot tree, or my first skydive, my subsequent 499 other skydives, or starting a company with no money in the bank. Whatever it is, it's scary. But we weren't designed as humans, as a species, to not be frightened on occasion, to not get worried, to not have our adrenaline kick up. It's those kind of things that push us as a species forward.
Yeah.
And I think that if you don't do the scary thing, you become complacent, and complacency leads to stagnation, and stagnation leads to failure.
I like this idea that stagnation leads to failure. I want to come back to that, but I think that there's sometimes this romantic idea that people have about business, starting a business, or even growing the business, or being in it and facing adversity, that I just want to be happy. I want to. This isn't making me happy, so I want to stop.
And
How does that?
that's
How does that
perfectly
work?
fine.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine. I know people who are very, very happy to be in their 9 to 5 with, health insurance and standard days off, and I think that's great. That works for them, and they find other ways to do the scary thing, whether that is maybe they run races, Ironman, triathlons, or race cars or motorcycles, whatever, all of which is perfectly okay. It doesn't have to be entrepreneurial, right? For me, it is, but it doesn't have to be. And I think that the thing people don't get, especially entrepreneurs, for whatever reason, they seem to think that by the very nature of them being an entrepreneur, they're better than everyone else. And I've always been of the opinion that I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. My ex-wife, who I'm still very good friends with, is one of the most creative advertising executives I've ever met in my life. She's a brilliant creative director. And I've always told her a million times that she could easily go out and start her own shop, and she'd have more clients than she knew what to do with. She simply doesn't want to. It's just not her thing. She likes working for a large agency. She likes knowing that she has a team behind her, that she doesn't have to worry about paying a salary, that she gets her paycheck, and she gets her days off, and she gets her health insurance, and she's perfectly happy with that. And it took me a while to realize that she wasn't wasting her talent by doing that. It made her happy, right? And her scary thing is presenting, she'll present to the client or present to her boss or whatever. And I'm sure that's frightening. And I'm sure that gets her out of her comfort zone and kicks her up as well. Life is too short to be judgmental about what other people do. I don't have enough time to be judgmental about myself, let alone other people, right? So, I find that just focusing on the things that I do, and trying to improve on them is enough.
I think there's so much there. And one of the things that I thought that you said was really interesting is something like entrepreneurs think that they're better by virtue of being entrepreneurs than everyone else. And that's just not true. And I think that the narrative that people fall into is one that isolates them further, right? I mean, and I think that when we all realize that we're in this together, it's more empowering. But more importantly, if we also realize that it's our teams that are maybe that different personality that appreciate the consistency and the stability, and you to take that risk, then there's some appreciation there. Do we have, as a leader, to encourage our teams to do scary things then by virtue of that and understand what those scary things are?
We absolutely should. And there's a difference between doing a scary thing and doing a scary thing responsibly. If I thought that every time I jumped out of a plane I was going to die, I wouldn't skydive. Right? I'm meticulous about my gear. I inspect it. I check it. I get someone else check it. I look, I trust my training and I trust my gear. That to me makes the scary thing worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a quote once when my daughter's 11 now. I heard a quote when she was about 5 that I have always believed in. If we want our kids to grow up and become independent, then we can't interfere when they're doing dangerous things carefully.
Wow.
Because that's the only place they grow.
Yeah.
I remember being with her mom, watching her on the monkey bars. That the kid, not her mom. Now I have the image of her mom on the monkey bars, and I'm just amused by that. But the kid was on the monkey bars, and my ex was walking in to stop her. Like, oh no, that's too high, and I held her back. I said the only way she's ever going to be able to do that safely is if we guide her, but let her do it. Well, what if she falls? There's rubber mats on the floor. If she gets a bump, she gets a bump in her head. She'll be fine. And she did it. She did it. She carefully, arm over arm, and got through the entire thing. And the level of confidence that gave my kid was noticeable, like palpable. So we can't interfere. Same thing goes for our employees. We can't interfere when they're doing dangerous things carefully. The key is to make sure they understand the risks, how to mitigate them as much as possible, and the rewards. And if the rewards are higher, greater than the risks after they're mitigated, I say do it.
I really think it's interesting that you talk about, you talked about skydiving and you did it 500 times, right? So, and it's still scary, but that's true of the work that we do too. You talked about your ex-wife and how presenting is scary, and it's still scary. You do it, and presenting to a client is still scary. She may find that the scary thing. And that's true in business too, or in anything. We might think the scary thing's always a new thing, but it could be an old thing that we're doing over and over again, and it's still scary every time, like skydiving, like presenting, right? Like, I mean, that still might be the scary thing that we have to do and repeat doing. We can't remove all that fear from our day.
Absolutely. And I think that again, it's doing those things. The cure to anxiety, or the cure for anxiety, is action. Okay. And I heard that was said by, of all things, a Peloton instructor, but it's so accurate. The cure to anxiety is action. And when you are scared about something, whether you're worried about something, taking action is the key to removing that fear, or at least, again, mitigating that fear. When I am on the plane heading up to altitude, I am scared every single time. Mm-hmm. So I do a gear check one more time. I take deep breaths. And then when I shuffle to the door and I exit out, I am the most free I'll ever be in my life. Because for the next 45 seconds, my life boils down to literally 2 choices. There's nothing else. There are literally 2 choices left in my life. Open my parachute and live, don't open my parachute and die. You're never going to be as free as when your life boils down to 2 choices. I'm sitting right here and I have more than 1 million choices just from this desk that I can make. I can reach over and pet the sleeping dog. I can look at my phone. I can talk to you. I can clean this up. The beauty of action is that it removes so much of the anxiety by the very concept of what it is. You're doing something.
So does action actually simplify life? Like if you were taking, I mean, is that what?
Yeah.
That another way of looking at it, right?
Does. It 100%
simplifies
life. My daughter gets worried about starting class in September because it's gonna be a whole group of new kids. Okay, well, you could sit here and worry about it, or we can go online and see if they've posted the class list yet. And if they have, maybe we send an email to a couple of the kids that you might know. Or maybe we start a WhatsApp group and you guys can chat together or whatever. I remember, I didn't realize at the time, but I remember before my freshman year of college, I I was matched with my roommate, and I was an only child, so I never had a roommate in my life. I always had my own room and everything. And I matched with this kid named Andy Isley, and I knew nothing about him. And for days, I'm freaking out. How am I gonna handle the roommate? Blah, blah. At the end of the day, I just called him. I'm like, Andy, hey, my name is Peter Shankman. I think we're roommates at BU in the fall. And I remember the first thing he said, because we were both afraid of our parents enough to put down that we were non-smokers on the housing form, and of course we both smoked. And and this is in the early 90s when smoking was like healthy, you know. But I remember one of the first things he said, he's like, "Do you have a problem with cigarette smoke?" I'm like, "No." Do you? He's like, "No." I'm like, "We're gonna be fine." You know? And it was that simple phone call that relieves so much of that anxiety. And so, you know, it comes down to the scary thing is usually starting that action, right? Because doing whatever you have to do to complete that action is usually part of the scary thing.
So let's dialing it back a little bit, meeting the new, like the trepidation, the fear was, I got to share my space. I got to meet this guy. I'm not going to like this person. What's this person like? They're going to judge me for smoking. We're not going to get along. So the scary thing was meeting him, right? So doing the scary thing was meeting him. I think I love this idea of action, being the cure for anxiety. And I love the fact that you got that from Peloton, right? I mean, you go there for the bike and stay for the philosophy, which is fantastic. But how has this, so, okay, you started HARO, right? I mean, HARO was gigantic, huge, grew 60,000 more sources, like millions of sources, right? It was like crazy.
It's a couple 100,000. Yeah, it's funny, you know, I relaunched, I launched it.
Yeah, and you relaunched it, right? So
I technically relaunched a new thing. I can't say that I relaunched it, I don't own it, but I did create something new called Source of Sources at sourceofsources.com, and it's actually skyrocketing as well.
Yeah. So was that scary?
That was annoying.
Why?
Because for years I watched what the company that acquired HARO was doing to it, and I just bit my tongue. I had the premise: you can't go home again, you can't go home again, you can't go home again. And then my girlfriend said to me, "Why can't you go home again?" And I went, "Fuck," you know. And I was so pissed off because I'm like, now I have to. I'm already running two companies. I don't want to run a third, and now I'm running a third. You know, and so it was a question of, wow, what if it doesn't work? Am I going to make any money from it? And the nice thing about ADHD is that there are only two types of time when you have ADHD. There's now and not now. And so for all those years, I was watching this thing get run on the ground by the other company, and it was not now. And then when I finally decided it was the time, it became now. And it was simply a question of, okay, it's like flipping a switch. Now, okay, let's build the website. Let's launch it. Let's tell people. Done.
And so, yeah, you're leaning into your strengths and opportunities with your action. But I wonder, in addition to watching what happened to HARO and that being a motivation thing, to start SOS, Source of Sources. I wonder, was there any fear? Were you scared of doing it again? Were you scared of maybe it not taking off and it becoming, Peter went back at it and it's not the same thing? Was that
absolutely
one of the things that held you back?
I mean, I think it was just the fact that, that chapter of my life was over. But over time, I just realized, I'm actually really good at it. I think that it wasn't so much I was worried about it not working. I was just worried about, is this really what I want to do? Mm. And what wound up happening was I realized that it doesn't have to define me. I could still do my other things. I run a company called Mental Capital that I co-founded with a psychiatrist, and we're helping companies like Adobe, Morgan Stanley, and Google attract, hire, and retain neurodiverse employees. And that's blowing up. We're having a field day with that. And so there's this, I think that for me, the scary thing was just getting started. That's the great quote: how do you eat an elephant? The answer is one bite at a time, right? Yeah. And so to me, it was this giant elephant that I didn't have the time to eat. And so over time, I just sort of went through the whole thing. I'm like, okay, how do we eat this elephant? Right? Well, okay, Peter, build the website. Okay, now you're walking down the street, you have nothing to do for the next 20 blocks. Record yourself telling the world about it and put it on Instagram. All those different types of things, right? And you build this sort of flowchart that takes all the scary things and breaks them into bite-sized pieces.
Mm.
And before you know it, you've done them all, and the scary thing is over.
Is there a wrong place to start eating the elephant?
Several jokes I could make right now.
Yes. Yeah. Jokes aside, I saw you go there. No,
yeah, I think,
but I mean,
I understand.
From the perspective of, like,
Yeah,
you
there
talk about
is.
doing the scary thing safely, right?
The wrong place to start eating is the biggest part of it. You want to start with the small pieces, because the more small pieces you do, the quicker it becomes a bigger and done process, right? The more small pieces you can get finished, the bigger part of it. It's the same. You wouldn't start a puzzle. You wouldn't start a jigsaw puzzle in the middle of it. You start at the corners, work your way down the edges, build the frame. Work in from the edges of the frame, right? So it's similar to that. It's okay, let's get the website out. Okay, I wouldn't go out and try to attract 50,000 reporters the first day.
Mm.
I get the website done. I get people to sign up as sources. I have people start telling people about it. All of that led to where we are. About 25,000 members, users, over 2,000 queries set out so far.
And that's in a very short period of time, right? I mean,
it started in May, April, I think.
Yeah, and so just because podcasts are timeless, this is 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So in 2 months, we've accelerated this way, and I really like this idea. The wrong place is the biggest parts. You work in from the edges. You work on the small. Is that a mental trick to help you build momentum? That, look, I'm getting something done. Is that
I think
the way
from
you
an
look at
ADHD
it?
perspective, it totally is, because when you're ADHD, again, on and off, right? Or as I say, my speeds are namaste and I'll cut a bitch. And so if I'm not doing anything, it gives me all the time to sit there and worry about this huge big project I have. If I could sit there and just do a couple of minutes at a time, right? And this little piece and this little piece, a perfect example. I have for mental capital, I have to go and make all these edits. I have to add my own edits to the website. But, of course, like most things I do in my life with ADHD, I launched the company and had 3 major clients before even building a website for ourselves. So we're currently doing the website. And Jen, my partner, said, okay, you have to get all the edits done by next Friday. The developer needs them. Okay. She said that like 3 weeks ago. And I have until this coming Friday, like a week from tomorrow, to get it done. And I've been staring at it and haven't done a thing. And so just this morning, I sat down. I said, okay, on Monday, you're going to take 30 minutes and you're going to edit the About Us section. On Tuesday, you're going to edit the clientele section. On Wednesday, and then all of a sudden, it'll be done by next Friday, right? So it's and just knowing that I did that got rid of the running around in my brain of, oh my God, I have to do this thing, I don't want to do it. Yeah. And I think
so even just like building the frame for how you're going to lay out the puzzle.
Exactly.
Got you.
AI helps with that too. AI helps with that a lot. I've been able to, my biggest thing when I'm writing a book or whatever is always starting, is always getting that first 1,000 words written. And so for me, I can actually go into AI and just sketch out a bunch of thoughts and have AI put that into something. It's not going to be my book. It's not going to be correct, but it's going to be something that I can then edit and turn into the first 1,000 words.
Yeah, and I think I wrote a blog post about this a little while ago, that AI may be the most powerful brainstorming assistant ever. That is the absolute best part of it, because if you needed a place to start, and the place to start was, how do I need some ideas for where would I start with this? Those are great places to go to AI. And like that AI is available for free everywhere. Everybody's got access to that AI. And you can get it through Meta, you can get it anywhere. Bing, it's always available. So doing the scary thing, Um, can it start with even like, I'm going to spend 10 minutes on this thing? Can it start with that? Because you're talking about doing the small things. Can it start with, I'm just going to spend 10 minutes on this? I'm going to plan it out for 10 minutes. Does that count as doing the scary thing? Does this count
Absolutely
as a start?
perfect. Yeah, there's absolutely no reason not to. It's a great way to make yourself feel like you've accomplished something, right? That the biggest problem for me is feeling like I've done nothing like with my day because I was too afraid to start. And so even the simple act of getting something done, whatever that is good enough for me to say, okay, today wasn't a complete failure. And look, there are days in life where you absolutely need to do absolutely nothing, to sit on the couch and, as they say in Pretty Woman, lay like broccoli, chill out like vegetables. I get that. And there are certain days that you're supposed to do that. But those are specific. I'm talking about on a random Thursday, the worst feeling in the world for me would be to go to bed knowing I haven't accomplished anything, even no matter how small. And, look, I mean, I think everyone in the world over the past, since 2016, has had some level of depression, gestures broadly at everything. So there's a very fine line between feeling like you've accomplished nothing and the starts of depression. Talk to my therapist about that very weekly. The key is to understand the differences and to understand sort of what allows you not to cross over that line.
Yeah.
Because there are days when I literally want to do nothing.
Do you have a method for that? Do you have a routine? Do you have a ritual that you use to not waste your random Thursday?
So I'm not sure we talked about this last time. I don't remember in the last podcast, but I tend to, more often than not, I sleep in my gym clothes. And I have a Peloton that's about 6 inches from my bed. When I wake up, when my alarm goes off, when my lights come on, everything's automatic. So my lights come on automatically, my shades come up automatically. So my lights come on around 4:15 a.m. They start slowly going up between 4:15 and 4:30 into a sunrise pattern. When they go up, that allows me to wake up out of a light REM versus deep REM. So I'm up. And then the first thing I do is I'm on the Peloton. Like, I might not even open my eyes yet, but I'm on the Peloton. I slip my feet into the sneakers, into the bike shoes, and I'm pedaling. I just start a ride. I go. Might take me 10 minutes to wake up. I mean, I literally might pedal for the first 5 minutes with my eyes closed, but I'm doing it. And once you get that started, everything else becomes easier. The key is that start. And so you make it as easy as possible to create that start. It's not necessarily it's not going to work all the time. There are days when I sleep in and I will own that shit, right? I don't, and you deal with the fallout from it. Oh, okay, I didn't do anything today. Okay, I'll try again tomorrow. Right? My grandfather had a great quote that try was never beaten. Right? And so as long as I can keep trying, as long as I can get up tomorrow and try again, and there are days, like I said, that I don't do it, but I try to get it where I am exercising on a regular basis, just waking up and doing something physical. Even if I do nothing else, I can look at my watch at the end of the day and my Apple Watch says, okay, you did this. That's something. It's the same reason people make their beds. Even if they do nothing else, they made their beds. Took a shower. I have to take a shower. It is so rare that I'll go 24 hours without showering. Even on vacation, right? When all I'm doing is going to the pool all day and having dinner, I'll still shower. I used to shower before going to the gym. I finally stopped doing that. But I used to get up and take a shower and then go to the gym. Stupidest thing in the world. But no, it's you have your little quirks.
Yeah, you know what? I started sort of writing down some KPIs of what I thought were a great day. And a great day was a 2-shower day because I shower once and then I work out and have to shower again.
Yep.
That's a good day.
The only difference for me though is I cannot exercise in the evening. If I don't wake up and exercise before I have a chance to think about it, I will not, because I will come up with a reason not to.
Yeah.
Okay, you go to the gym at 6 p.m. But you know what? There is an asteroid they discovered orbiting Pluto. you know what, just to be safe, I'm gonna go home instead. Like, I will figure out a
You'll
reason.
find a way. You'll find a way. No,
So
so
it's like
my
that.
win is that I can carve off time in the afternoon, not evening, because when the kids are in and the
Right.
evening's happening, I'm out. Like that's family time. I don't want to be, even if they want nothing to do with me, and they're teenagers, so they want nothing to do with me, but I want to be there. So I'm with you. Evenings are not workable for me.
Yeah, my thing mornings is it's my time, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
have a single dad of an 11-year-old kid, so I don't have time. So 4 a.m. What's the line? CJ Craig in The West Wing said that in the very opening scene, she goes, 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. is my time. I can work out. I can meet an interesting man, and then she falls off the treadmill. But that's
Yeah.
literally my moment. Is 4 to 6 before she wakes up is my world.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I like this idea of making it as easy as possible to start, right? That you make it as easy as possible to start, which includes for you sleeping in gym clothes, right? Because that's what works for you to make it as easy. It's one less thing that you have to do in the morning before you get on that bike. And that gets things going. That gets you to do the scary thing. You know, when you were talking, something sort of just, I wonder how much Yoda messed with our minds, right? Like, I think Yoda in our generation messed with our minds, was it do or do not do, there is no try. But you talked about how important it was to try. It was, for you, trying was a big deal. Uh, did you have to get Yoda out of your head, or how did that happen?
It's a good question. I've failed so much. And I think that I'd never hire anyone who hasn't, because I've learned from it.
Mm.
I'm not going to sit there and say I failed. I can't, I shouldn't do this. I made peace with the fact that there are only a couple of things in the world that I truly can't do. I'm probably never going to date a supermodel. I'm okay with that. But there was also a time where I thought I'd never have a sub-4 marathon. And then I got dumped in April of 06 and spent every day from April of 06 to the New York City Marathon in November eating, sleeping, working, training. And I went from a 5:10 to a 3:58. So it's pretty impressive what you can do when you actually set your mind to it. I don't think I could set my mind to it enough where I could actually date a supermodel, but who knows, right?
Mhm.
But I mean, I'd say my girlfriend's pretty much the close enough to a supermodel for me. She's gorgeous, so I take that. But for me, it's really about understanding that I haven't failed. I didn't fail 1,000 times to create a light bulb. I learned 1,000 ways not to create a light bulb, said Edison, right?
Yeah,
Something like that.
I think that's a great way to end. Peter, thank you so much for joining me. It's great to have you back. Wonderful to see you.
Always. Anytime.